welcome. So I hope you appreciate this night sunset on a nuclear power plant. So, a bit frightening, huh? Maybe. Okay, well, this is more or less the vision I had a few years ago. The vision of nuclear I had a few years ago. To make it short, I was based in the Chernobyl atmosphere. And for me and my family, nuclear was bad, nuclear was dangerous, and nuclear was dirty. Well, and I think we all had, once in our life at least, such kind of vision of nuclear. Or even better. Like this. Well, a lot of unmanaged waste piling up everywhere in the countryside. Well, with such a vision of nuclear, how could I go into the nuclear industry? That's a real question, huh? Because I am a convert. Originally, I am a mechanical engineer, and I worked in various fields, so automotive industry, special machines, even harvesting machines for grapes. That was really cool, by the way. And I fell into nuclear a bit by chance, because he wanted someone who worked in the automotive industry, who had done some quality and method, who spoke English and German. Well, that was my profile. I was there. That was okay. And in fact, I must say I was a bit suspicious because, well, I had that image of nuclear. But the project I was offered to work on was simply technically too good to be refused. It was machines. I was a mechanical engineer again, huh? I still am. Machines running for 25 years, spinning at staggering speeds, and without maintenance. So for a mechanical engineer, this is the holy grail, clearly. But this is not the holy grail I will talk to you today. I will tell you about another kind of holy grail, which is the fourth generation of nuclear reactors, which are also called advanced reactors. And to be honest, I jumped also in nuclear because I wanted to make up my mind. I am an engineer and I want to understand technical topic by myself. So that's what I did. And another reason also is that it was in 2010, I just had 2 kids, and like every young parent, I was a little bit worried about climate change. So I will tell you about the fourth generation of nuclear, the Holy Grail, through the prism of my personal story. So, first, what is a nuclear plant? This is the one you know. This is really clear and simple. You have a kind of giant, let's say, cooker, pressurized cooker, that heats steam, that turns a turbine, that activates a generator, that produces electricity. Simple. And this is also known that if nuclear power rises fear, this is also one of the lowest carbon energy that we know, about 12 grams per CO2 per kilowatt hour. Even lower from the French one due to the high efficiency of enrichment. So I worked from 2010 to 2017 in the nuclear industry, but at that time, 2017, the goal, even in France, was not to build new ones, new reactors. It was to dismantle some. So I quit. I left nuclear industry in 2017 to do first a nuclear master in nuclear engineering specialize in dismantling. Well, that was a job. Huh? And at the same time, I did an MBA focused on renewable energy. So it was on the title of my MBA thesis was production and storage of hydrogen for individuals. That was a bit technical for an MBA thesis, okay, but that was cool. And the conclusion of it was basically, okay, it could work, but only for really rich people. So that's a bit the kind of worry. It was not exactly successful. After that, I jumped into 2 startups, also in the energy field. One doing, let's say, a storage development for electricity, which is key for storage, for renewable energy, sorry. And the other one was developing a nice process in order to produce hydrogen by electrolysis. It was, let's say, a great time, about 2 years. But then you realize that even if hydrogen can have a role in the nuclear transition for sure, it requires a huge amount of electricity to produce it via electrolysis. And if the storage is important for renewable, the most important thing is still to produce a lot of low carbon electricity. So I had the feeling somehow that I could be more useful somewhere else. And then I stepped back in nuclear when I heard about, let's say, a place to work on advanced reactors. But what are advanced reactors? In fact, the reactors, you know, are mostly generation 2 or generation 3. You have also some which are called generation 3+, but basically, between those 3 generations, 2, 3, 3+, you don't have big changes. This is only small steps. The game changer coming are advanced reactors, generation 4. And there is a lot of different generation 4 reactors. A lot, really a lot. The GIF, so the Gen 4 International Forum, has selected for us 6 types of advanced reactors. And each type has a lot of subtypes in it. I will go quickly and try to get you an idea what are those reactors. I will start with the one I think is less innovative. The supercritical water-cooled reactor. So supercritical water-cooled reactor, as the name says it runs with supercritical water, which is water under really high pressure and really high temperature. Then it becomes something between liquid and gas, and it has amazing properties, to make it short. It makes that reactor particularly efficient, which is really cool. This is almost a fast neutron, but I will come to that notion later. This is similar to the generation 3 reactors, so PWR, pressurized water reactors, but with a lot of simplifications, which is good, of course. It has a relatively high temperature, which is also good for the industry. But this is still high pressure, so there is the same safety issues than current reactors, and cost, by the way. And as this is really high pressure, in that case particularly, it also raises the cost, because you need really strong vessels, pipe, pumps, valves, all that. And it has a low technology readiness level. So not exactly my preferred ones. Then you have about, I put that in the same category, the HTGR and VHTR, which are, let's say, the very high temperature reactors. Some of them work with what we call trisofuel, which is a big step, because this is not at all the fuel as we know it in roads. This is a fuel like particle like this. This is 1 millimeter only, which are enveloped in layers of oxide and protection. And this is put in a pebble like that, and this is helium cooled. The big advantage of that, it just cannot melt. So from a safety point of view, this is great. But there is a little drawback, not that little. With something that cannot melt, what do you do afterwards with the used pebbles? You have no real solution, in fact. So, but this is relatively mature, and the very high temperature allow a lot of things for industries which need such high temperatures. Then, quickly on that one, a gas-cooled fast reactor. What is important here is fast reactors. Let me explain what fast means. First, it can use as fuel the current waste of nuclear reactors. So that's the first point. But also it can become what we call a breeder. A breeder, how to say that? With the current uranium we extract, we use only 0.7%. Quite nothing, really, really teeny amount of the uranium we extract from Earth. With fast reactors, potentially you can use 100%. So it means you multiply just like that the resources by a factor more than 100. To give you an idea, with the current uranium we have on the soil of France, depleted uranium mostly, we could make electricity at the same rate for thousands of years without going to the mine, which is a huge step. One limitation of that is that it still has solid fuel rods. Then comes the lead-cooled fast reactor. By the way, there is Mr. Stefano Buono somewhere here, and he is building a lead-cooled fast reactor, which is pretty cool. How is it better than the previous one? So it can use waste as fuel. Okay, this is a fast reactor. It can be a breeder, so no mining anymore. This is ultra low carbon, of course, because the carbon impact of nuclear today is mostly the mining. So if you have no mining anymore, the carbon impact is even lower. So it goes down to 2.5 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. This is huge. This is unbeatable. And a good advantage of that one is the coolant lead is also a protection for the workers around. Drawbacks are, let's say, this is of course extremely heavy, so you have to take care about the earthquakes. And still you have solid fuel roads, which can be seen as a limitation. Then comes the sodium-cooled fast reactors. So the sodium-cooled fast reactors has about the same advantages of the previous one, but this technology is really mature. It has been built several times. The bigger one has been built in France. It was called Super Phoenix. It worked quite well during a few years, and then it was shut down for political reason, unfortunately. But same limitation is solid fuel road. But we have to say for that one that if we want to go fast with fast reactors, sorry for the repetition, it is probably the right candidate. Then comes my preferred one, also because I'm working on it, by the way, which is the molten salt fast reactors. Fast reactors because there is a lot of different kinds of molten salt reactors. By the way, it has been built in the 60s by the Americans, so this is not something completely unknown, but it was not a fast version. So fast version has all the advantages as before, so closed cycle, breeder, no more mining, ultra low carbon, okay, can use nuclear waste as fuel, and in this case, particularly efficiently. High temperature, low pressure, so no explosion, cannot. And in addition to all that, this is load adaptative. You don't have to do anything. It just follows the load. So this is perfect as complementary solution for renewables, intermittent renewables, I mean. It cannot melt. It is already melted. So it cannot melt. And in case of a leak, the salt freezes under 400 degrees and it retains all radioactivity inside. Well, this is quite a huge amount of advantages. Drawback, low TRL. So to develop that, we have a lot of work to do. So let's say for a demo, it's within 10 years. But some startup, and we are working on it. So after that, is nuclear so frightening? So I don't think so. I think that nuclear is a good neighbor, and nuclear industry is the only industry worldwide managing its waste with such, let's say, strict rules and in an unorganized way. So now, I will say, guess where that picture, the next one, has been taken? In Germany. So when I say nuclear is a good neighbor, this is also the case in Germany. So that cheap is not really frightening. And my advice to everybody will be, just don't believe what you heard a lot probably about nuclear. Get informed and make up your mind. Because if I can change my mind, and I must say I'm a kind of stubborn, everybody can.